Grand Rising, everybody. Thank you for tuning in once again to the recast. It is an honor to have you here. And today is the first episode with a guest on the recast. And so it is my honor to welcome my friend and wisdom keeper, Jason Michael Powers, who you'll be hearing from in a moment. In this discussion, we talk about several things. We met on New Year's Eve 2020. And so we talk about some of the time period from then till now, the transitions that we've experienced. We talk about the powerful 1111 time synchronicity phenomenon and how we both experienced that and what it means to us. We end up getting into just a little bit about 2024 and the elections upcoming, right? In particular, the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign and what we see there. And if you stick with us till the end, you're going to get to hear from Jason's beautiful wife, Heather Grace Powers, who just sings an absolutely beautiful song called Remember, which is Remember Who We Are. And that's our topic for today. So we'll get into that in the show. Just wanted to introduce Jason and let you guys know what you're getting in for. So Jason Michael Powers, aka DJ One Love, thanks for being on the show. I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. I just need to say that my intention for this, what feels necessary to me, is to engage co-creators like yourself and to reach out to the most inspiring people I can connect with and really start to recast our reality. And really the aim is for abundance for all living beings in a way. And we're aiming for a 28x improvement. I don't know. So I know that's kind of a mouthful, but that's kind of what brings us here. We're recasting reality. I consider, you helped guide me into the four masculine archetypes, right? We got king, warrior, magician, lover. I consider you powerful magician, among other things, but you've got all aspects in there. And certainly you're no stranger to the lover, being in a divine relationship with your beloved Heather, who we'll be hearing from in a little bit, her beautiful song. So, yeah, all that being said, I asked you what's near and dear to you, and you kind of knew what I was up to with the recast, and I hadn't even told you really exactly what it was, but there's a lot of words that start with re, a lot of great words that start with re. So, for me, it's been rethinking everything for a while, but that's kind of the container because there's a lot of re's. And when I asked you, the one that felt closest to you was remembering. So just kind of wanted to presence that today and ask you, when did you start to remember who you were? Or as a lot of people sort of say, when did you wake up from the Matrix? They're somewhat tangled, but they're not exactly the same. So do you want to just kind of give us an intro to your story? Yeah, what ignited you to start rethinking your reality and learning who you are?
Right on. I'm DJ One Love in the world that I work in. I've been a DJ MC for private events for 30 years. And the law of one, the law of love are two of the most important laws, Mr. Lawler, in my awareness and life. I think it all comes to those one love. And love is the most powerful force, but one is an important thing. So it doesn't surprise me that I'm here in this space with you. And it's an honor. I'm grateful for the ways we've journeyed together in the last crazy 3 years since this plandemic happened, and journey together to say, look, no, we're gonna rebel against something. We're gonna say no. We're gonna come together as a community. And we were on Fox News Channel 11 as super spreaders, because we were coming together to pray in the new year, and we were coming together to sing into the new year, and that's where I got a chance to see you from across the way, having your little boy up on your shoulders. And I said, God said, look at that man over there. There was something that shined in my awareness that I said, I just took notice of you. But that's just to say, it's an honor to be here. You know, these conversations are what we do all the time, and to have this publicly and to have a conversation, a prayerfrization, as Matthew said, we prayed before the beginning, and I love that. You know, that two men came together to invoke the Spirit of God to be with us. This isn't about us. This is about something beyond us. That we're saying, look, we want to be the mouthpiece of freedom. We want to be the mouthpiece of renovation. We want to be the mouthpiece of inspiration. So my prayer and our collective prayer is that whatever we say, we pray that it touches something deep inside of you that you know is true. And that's kind of like back when my awakening began, was after the Twin Towers went down in 2001. 9/11, right? The day of your birth. You know, that something happened inside of me that I can look back and, you know, it was a very, you know, we all have our story. We can remember where we were, if you were alive at that time, what happened. And it rocked our world. It rocked our soul. It rocked our spirit. And at that time, I had left the traditional Christian pathway in 1997 and wasn't praying, wasn't meditating. I didn't know anything about meditation at the time. I left that traditional theological binding of God for me. And I had to walk away from anything, all spirit, all God, anything. But I missed prayer. I missed connection. And so it was around after that time I started noticing something. Because most of us, when 9/11 happened, it was interesting. It was like 9/11. That's weird. That's the number you call for emergency. That's like 9/11. There's something urgent. There's an emergency on planet Earth. Precisely. The warning signs, the fire bells are going on. The firemen are coming. 9/11. Like, call 911. We need something now. We need something. God needs to come now. And I could feel that. And so I started noticing numbers. I started noticing things. You know, it was the first time I ever noticed. And so 9/11 was my first number that I started noticing everywhere. And then I started noticing 11/11. I started noticing it not just on clocks, but on addresses, on some, you know, on various things. And so much so that I'd asked a girl I was dating at the time, shortly after that, I think it was probably 2002 or something, I started going, why am I seeing 11/11 everywhere? And she didn't tell me. She just said, look it up. Just look it up. Just put 11:11 and see what happens. And I can tell you, Matthew, at that time, I had started meditating just as I was starting to see the numbers. And I'll never forget the first time I meditated. It was in my room. I had some Nag Champa lit, and I was listening to this Wayne Dyer track. It's a really good track for those out there. It's called Manifestation Through Meditation. And it was Dr. Wayne Dyer doing this 20-minute morning meditation and 20-minute evening meditation. And it was 20 minutes of, and he would do these affirmations. And then 20 minutes at night, and he would say these affirmations. My life is nothing more than the trail I've left behind. What drives my life today is the energy I generate in each of my present moments. And the first time I did that, Matthew, I wept. I'm like, God, you're here. You're in my bedroom. You're with me here. I'm not in a church. I'm not in any other place. I'm not with a bunch of people. I'm not with a spiritual leader telling me all the things I need to know and hear and giving me his theory of the Bible. I'm here with the presence of God in my room. And that began this awakening journey. That began this love of meditation. Meditation is what opened my heart. And I found I could meditate anywhere. I could meditate in a park. I could meditate just walking. And so it began this journey. And that 11/11 journey is what really began this journey of remembrance of like, oh, this is why you're here. This is why you're here. You're here. 11/11 truly was an awakening to remember that I am that term. I heard the term for the first time, light worker. What is that? I'm a star seed. I'm this being that I've always felt like when I went to church, Matthew. I'm sure maybe for you the same, but I didn't grow up going to church. I just wanted to be like Jesus. That's all I knew. I know that this man, Jesus Christ, was a hero, and he healed the sick. He helped. He loved animals. He loved children. He loved life. He loved God. And that's what I knew of him. That was his perception of me. So I just wanted to be just like him without all the trappings of religion. And so there's a lot in there, but that's kind of what kind of inspired me to remember that I'm not my family. I'm not my mistakes. I'm not my beliefs. I'm something else. There's something else that I'm a member of. I'm a member of the kingdom of God. I'm a member of something that is reconnecting. So I'm remembering that. And when I do that, when I meditate, when I pray, when I connect to spirit, I remember,
Now, when you talk about remembering, I just want to see if we're kind of on the same page here. I think I already mentioned the Matrix. It's the most common kind of metaphor for the reality that we've been living in, right? Thanks to the movie, came out in 99, right? 2 years before.
1999. Yep.
Yeah. And of course, Neo's driver's license did in fact have a
9/11, 2001.
So a little predictive programming there. But do you associate remembering who you are with sort of like that's sort of like the opposite of being in the Matrix, right? Does that kind of make sense? If it's like the Matrix is the distraction. Look at this, just constantly everything about the way it was designed is to disconnect us from our power, disconnect us from remembering who we are, as divine beings, right? So I think for me, and tell me if this is similar for you, like, especially, because I woke up within a few years of 9/11 as well. That was the trigger event that just required further exploration and was a huge wormhole, right? So especially it being my birthday, right? I was like powerfully connected to kind of understanding what occurred on that day. And
by the way, it's 9/11, 1984, correct? Isn't that your birthday?
It is.
Yeah. For those out there that understand 1984, it's a very significant marking. So
it sure is. I've connected with some other 1984s recently too. Another guy who has an account on Twitter who I'll probably end up having on this podcast. So it's not just me kind of feeling obviously Orwell wrote the book 1984, kind of stapled that year with the idea of a dystopia, right? And so that being my birthday and all, I've sort of interpreted it as I'm here to help dissolve the Matrix and to help recast reality. It's just one of my roles here, and I'm honored to receive that. So we'll see what shape that takes, but it's you and I are doing it. It's a co-creative process. Lots of other people are doing it, and we have to do it. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world, and so one step at a time. But all right, so there's more 11/11 to talk about. Why don't you show everybody what you got on your
what
on
I
your
got?
thumbs.
All right.
Yeah.
So I saw this picture. So let me back it up. Back when Facebook first came around, I got invited. There's so much in here. I got invited to give my story of my awakening story with 11/11, and I ended up becoming an admin on the Facebook group called the 11/11 Awakening Code. You can look that up. My dear friend Georgina Beeman in the UK is the creator of that, and she invited me at that time to, she was inspired by my story, and she's like, it wasn't just make a wish. It was like I had a really profound shift because of that code, and it is an awakening code. It's more than just make a wish. It is, I believe it's our higher aspect. It is a prompting to go, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up to what? What are we waking up to? We're waking up to reality. We're waking up to the real world where Morpheus tells Neo, welcome to the real world. That there's an overlay that's happened. There's a malaise. There's a dis-ease in our system. There's a disturbance in the force that we're waking up to and going, oh, we're coming online. And so I got asked to be on that. And in that 1111 Awakening page group, I would see this meme, and it was this man's hands clasped together, downwards. And I would send this picture all the time, but quite a few years ago, I ended up getting tattooed. So it's sitting there.
There it is. 1111.
This is the gateway. This is the gateway that opens up, right? And it's downwards for a reason. Like, this is the feminine. We need to wake up to the mother, a goddess. We need to wake up to the mother energy in concert, in union, not to disregard, this Barbie movie that's going on right now. That's like blasting the patriarchy, blasting men. I will not see that movie, just for the record. Will not see that movie. But we're waking up. This is, there's more than just having it on my thumbs. It's really when we wake up to the temple gates and we wake up to awakening the rose in our own heart. The true way of Christ is very aligned with the rose. And when you walk the way of the rose path, it's the true Knights Templar, the true Holy Grail is, those that protect the feminine within and without. That protect the earth, that protect the feminine, that protect the children. That's the chivalric code. So all that to be said, I said I will get these numbers tattooed. And I only have 2 tattoos. I have these, and I have 007 tattooed on my arm because I spent a season of my life being a secret agent man, Mr. James Bond for private events, and that was a fun gig.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Mr. Connery.
Now it's Sean Connery. Back then it was Pierce Brosnan, but I let the grays come out. So, but yeah, that's tattooed on the thumbs there.
So, yeah, and one other thing. So we'll have to tell people that I didn't know or had forgotten that you had those on your thumbs. Something to that effect. You and your wife Heather ended up choosing to support me and Martin Geddes when we were launching our 1111 NFT project, right? So, quick bit of background there. Martin Geddes he's been called the Alan Turing of our time before, which I think is interesting. So he's a writer, profound writer in the UK. And just quick note, I had reached out to him, back in 2019 or 2020 to do a book cover for him, and that book ended up being censored. It's called Open Your Mind to Change, a guidebook to the Great Awakening. And so he was censored everywhere, everywhere, one of the most censored people, right? So that cut off his source of revenue for me as well to earn from that book with him. And so we were going to resist. We were like, okay, we can't just take it lying down. Let's make uncensorable NFTs, right? And so we sought to make censorship history. We're just, like a lot of people, we're just so like the tyranny, the censorship, it was just so unacceptable. And I think a lot of people are coming into this understanding now. Since then, a lot of things have changed. Martin just recently got back on Twitter, with Elon at the helm now. That's just been in the last few weeks after years of censorship. Point is, you chose to buy number one. I want to say, it was the equivalent of like $600 or $700 at the time on the price doubling strategy that we had. So forever grateful for you for just having that belief in what I was doing with Martin. And, we ended up selling 4 of those NFTs on this kind of never done before goal. And I'll be talking with some of the other folks who supported as well on this cast, and we'll have to get Martin on and a couple other friends of him. But so thank you for that. And just to connect on the 1111, I was in the creation process. I was also seeing tons of 1111s. Like, in fact, Martin there was just so many profound 1111s on the clock when Martin would call me or something, and it was just like, whoa. And we even
Mm.
changed the, originally it was going to be 9 pieces, based on his chapters. And then or no, how many books he had left. And then he called later on, he was like, no, actually we'll do 11. So it literally went from 9 to 11 at 11:11. It was like, insane synchronicity. It was like, wow, I guess I'm doing the right thing for right now. And I know you know what that's like, and I know a
Yeah.
lot of other people do too, because there's books about it. So if anyone wants to look
Yeah.
up the
Yeah. I mean, just without going into, I actually received, there is books. I've got quite a few of them on my bookshelf. It's more than just, seeing a time prompt. It's happened before. The end of 2012 happened on the atomic clock at 11:11. That's a whole story. My friend of mine, who was a fellow admin on the 11:11 Awakening page on Facebook, he started a radio show called Awakening Code Radio. By the way, look that up on podcast. Michelle Anderson, Eric Stephen Rankin, host of Awakening Code Radio. Great podcast, great radio show. But he wrote a book called The Aquarians, and it was the most, downloaded bought book before 2012. But it was interesting. It was about 11:11 was happening and the great shift to 2012 to 2013. And but I had actually found a book that was gifted to me on November 11th, the 11:11 book by Solara, who has now since become a dear friend. She lives in Peru, and there's more to it. If you're seeing the number, I think many people are aware of it at this point, but it is a red pill. I will just tell you that. It is a red pill that takes you down the rabbit hole, and it can get a little sticky and it can get weird and uncomfortable because it's disorienting. Just like Neo when he woke up from the Matrix, it's disorienting. You might throw up. You might feel like, what the heck? Your relationships are going to change. Your job may change. You will be turned inside out, but you want to be turned inside out. You want to be unplugged. You want to be unplugged. You want to be God, sovereign, free. Outside, like I say, and I appreciate you mentioned a magician, because I am a magician. I'm not an illusionist. I am a magician. And that is my strongest type. And that's because I'm a metaphysician that understands the laws of the universe. And once you understand how this thing works, and meaning what works, there's nothing outside of you. There's no power outside of you unless you give it power. You are the God, sovereign creator. And we're taking our power back. We're remembering that we are God. We are sovereign and free. We're not the God. I'm a child of God. I'm a son of God. You are a son of God. We are the emanation of the all that is. But we've been given innate, inherent powers, abilities to navigate through this holographic field when we follow the way. How do we, when I saw the cross, when I saw the cross in a different way, the cross is the crux, through that XY axis, through the center of that is the way out of the matrix. So you got to go to the cross. You got to go to it. You got to stand at the foot of the cross on some level and go, that's the way out. The way that Jesus, Yeshua, embodied that. It's a deep concept. It's a deep metaphysical concept, but it's yeah. The 11:11 is an invitation for you to wake up, because people go, what does that mean? What does that mean? Why do you have that? And it's like a 30-second pitch now. I've summarized it. What does it mean? It means to wake up that I am the presence of love that I am, that God is real, God is within me, and that the meaning of life is to love and be loved. So it's to wake up and to remember that I am love itself. I am the manifestation of love. And I am the manifestation of this creational power. And when I forget that, all kinds of trouble start happening. When I forget that I am that I am. I am that I am. You are that I am. When I remember that I am that I am in all its shades and colors. In all of its shades and colors. And we're at a time now we're dividing and conquering. We're being divided and being conquered by our splitting and our polarity and our dual nature, but it's to remember. But if I could share this piece, because this is what Spirit's given to me right now, what it's become to me now. So 1111, right? So within you, Matthew, is the polarities of the masculine, feminine poles. You're not just male energy. You have a feminine, this isn't gender. We're not talking gender. We're talking about energetics. That intuitive, that soft, that caring, that nurturing, that softer side of you that we men are learning to go, let me tap into that. And so as a man, and not to negate the masculine, not to negate that power, that decider, that form builder, that provider, that protector, when that comes in harmony within you and I, and then let's say we're in relationship with another who, let's say for our instance, is our feminine, our woman in our life. She's soft, she's supple, she's caring, she's nurturing, but she also has what we call her king online. She's a creator, she's a director, she's a decider, she's a protector. And when you get those two coming together in their balancing of their polarities, they become a stargate. They become an opening, a portal of heaven's love. You don't have to do much, say much. It's not about our cleverness. So Heather and I, this is our work in the world, is the powers of love, is to bring that energy to come in and balance that within herself. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to vacillate, right? Life isn't static. It's moving. It's a plasmic wave. And so when we're navigating and doing our best to balance those energies within each one of us in relationship, in partnership, we are a portal of God's love. We are that gateway, that stargate in a sense, of where the gateway to awakening to remember who and what we are. And that's what the 1111 has come to mean to me now. It's a coding of awakening to the power of relationship, the relationship with God, the relationship with self, and the relationship with others.
Wow. Well, thank you. That's incredible.
You're welcome.
So hopefully that explains, at least, from your perspective, what that is. And I love that. And later, future episodes, I'll be asking Martin why he chose to call the project 1111, and he'll have his reasons for that. But I understand that it can mean different things to different people, right? But the way I interpreted it too on my journey was kind of just simply keep going. When I'd see it, it's like a little breadcrumb to keep going on that awakening journey, right? Kind of. So that does really tie into what you had been saying.
Yeah, it's your presence. It's the presence of something is going. Stay on target, stay online, and you'll find it. It's a mystical, magical tour. I ended up going to China, Matthew, and doing music with Heather, and never knowing that I would ever go to China and sing in Mandarin. I never saw that happening in my life, but because of 1111, it happened. And it's because the woman who wrote a book, she said to her story on 11/11/1999, she was visited by Kuan Yin in her awareness that I was to go to the States. She was to go to the States and teach the wisdom from the Himalayas, one of the ancient ways of Tibetan Buddhism. And somehow our lives crossed. I was Mr. 1111. I was co-producer on Awakening Code Radio, brought her on the show, and we find ourselves next months, years later, year after year until 2017, we were going back and forth to China. But it was all because of 1111. I've met so many people. I've had so many magical experiences because of that. A lot of people nowadays, they go, when they see it, they go, I was thinking of you when I saw 1111, Jason. I'm like, great. Thank you. But remember something more.
Well, it's worth mentioning, this is the last time we did anything like this. The only other time really was on 11/11. Was it 2021? I believe.
Was it 21? Yeah. These last 3 years are a blur, right?
Yeah, it has been a blur. We did a live broadcast on 11/11 at 11:11 a.m. We did the whole deal. And so I think what I want to do now is just sort of, we'll just walk kind of quickly through the timeline. From when we met, it was New Year's Eve, the end of 2020, right? So we've just been through like a year of just like, oh my God.
That's the best way. It was a year of what is going on?
I honestly just, I was blessed in terms of where I was able to live in connection with nature and stuff, but wandering into society for that year was just brutal for me. Hence, we ended up starting a community together to connect with people with our full face, boldly with our full faces on. So that was great. But so that's when we met, end of 2020. I'm just going to jump kind of through the blur. As we've been on a journey from, I would say, resistance, right? Just like, oh, we got to fight the mandates or whatever. Freedom, stand up for our freedoms. There was definitely this knee-jerk reaction to resist and fight. And so we've all, a lot of us have been in that energy, and we've had to work through that. And so here we are today in, I think, a very different place. And that's why this podcast is happening now. My own energy has changed, right? It's the state of resistance is not open to receiving, really, right? You kind of close yourself off from receiving when you're in resistance. So that's one thing I've learned. A friend of mine gifted me this book recently, Open Your Mind to Receive. So working my way through this. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of where I started my first solo episode of this podcast, just a little bit about receiving. And suffice to say, so now I wanted to touch on March 22 earlier this year. We were able to spend some time together in the flesh on that day. Yeah. And that was quite a blessing to me. And a little context, you had recently shared to me this channel from this guy, Jeffrey Hopi, on YouTube. We can link to him. But he, in the day after we were together on March 22, let me just go through what had happened there and then what I learned about that day. It was right in the midst too of of this very intense astrological week, right? We had solstice. We had, I believe it was Pluto entering Aquarius, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Wow. Good memory.
And in between those days, it was March 22 is what I recall. Yeah. So the March 22 was in the middle. And I saw a video from Jeffrey that day, the Crimson Circle channel. He was saying that this was Heaven's Gate. They did their Heaven's Gate presentation. It's about an hour on, and
Heaven's Cross.
Heaven's Cross. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Heaven's Gate is David
Heaven's Cross. And just to clarify, he does not and this is Jeffrey channeling Adamus Saint Germain, for the record. And he was saying it's not an astrological event on that March 22, 2023, but it was a consciousness event. A threshold of consciousness had been reached.
Yeah.
And in his words, it's literally kind of the start of the apocalypse, the most apocalypse begin on button, in a way, as if we hadn't kind of been in it already. And when I say apocalypse is in a good way, right? As the dropping of the veil and this renewal. So we're in this renewal process, and what it means to me and to some other people is there's new energy available to us, from the divine, from source, to step into our higher power and to recast our reality. So there, it's a new energy that for me, the synchronization was powerful enough. Let me get into our experience that day. We were at your place, and in a nutshell, I remember I had asked you something that was close to my heart and creative muse. I asked you and your son and Taylor, do we need a new mythology? Mm-hmm. That was the discussion. I said, do we need a new mythology? And just for context, when I said mythology, what I meant was, we have, of course, you got your religions, and the mythology is really anything, a story that people kind of create their identity through, right? The stories that have meaning to us. And these days, back in the day, if you were just in a tribe, in a village, you would have had your, just the one kind of village mythology, or, the story that gets passed down verbally. And that's changed a lot to where now we got Marvel movies, Star Wars, just everything. It's like mythology mayhem even, right? And then you got your religions that to me, for my taste, just aren't working anymore in this malaise of mayhem of mixed mythologies. And so my genuine question is, do we need a new mythology? And you had some powerful words for me in that moment. Do you remember what you said?
You know, if I recall, I remember thinking into it and feeling into that. It was such a great question. It was really coming up in so many different synchronistic ways in my own awareness. I mean, I'm a big Star Wars fan. Sitting on my computer is actually my hero. Is Yoda sitting right here? He's my spiritual teacher. One of them. But you know, it was the begging the question. I remember just going, just feel into, you know, here in this present moment, you know, what wants to be birth, what wants to, you know, instead of trying to be clever, you know, and use your mental mind, really sink into the present moment. You know, the Eckhart Tolle says the power of now, right here in this now, the eternal now, where everything is always here full. Can we fully receive inspiration and creativity? Because I said, you know, love had brought you forth. Love, you know, my love for you as my brother said, come over, let me cook you a meal. Be around Taylor and my son. And there's these men that are just here in this field of yes. It's a yes. We don't have an agenda. We just want to break bread together. We want to encourage one another, to give courage, to give inspiration. And from that place of pure receptivity, and that's where you went to a full receive. You closed your eyes, you heard what was being spoken, and you knew it was good. You knew it was love, and your whole system just relaxed. And so that resistance was relaxed in trust. And so it was inspired by that moment of going, let's just rest into this present moment. And that's where inspiration, and when we take the next lit moment, sometimes we want to figure it out, especially as men, we want to figure it all out. We want to have the plan. We want to have the execution. And you know, the old saying, God plans, or man plans, God laughs, because something else wants to be created, and we got to stay supple and available to receive the inspiration for every waking now moment. And I think it was in that moment, but you don't have to share with you, Matthew. I didn't share this with you yet offline, but I was driving a couple of days ago, and I don't know if you can see it, but there was a cross under the sign. I don't know if it shows up here.
I can't see you very well.
It's a cross.
Is it a sign? Okay.
It's a cross. There was a cross in the heavens. There was a cross in the sky, just sitting there in a form of clouds of some sort. And I got a video of it, and I just remembered, oh wow, the heavens cross just showed up in light of what we're talking about here. You know, and what Jeffrey Rush was talking about, I think that's what, you know, just to echo and piggyback what you said, like the apocalypse, like we're seeing it now. Like Hunter Biden can't hide. There's no more hiding. There's no more hiding what Joe Biden has done. There's, you know, you can sit there and put it over, but something's happening. The great revealing, the great unveiling, the shadows are not able to hide. Here we got the sound of freedom. Like it's being shown in our face, like the shadowy sides of all of us, you know, each of us, and more importantly, each one of us. We don't want to sit there and point at all the shadows of others. We want to go down to our own self and go, what can't stay hidden inside me? Because the apocalypse, the revelation is here, and it's uncomfortable, and it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit as we see the atrocities that's been hiding, and we can smell it. You know, it stinks. There's a stink. There's a stank in the air that doesn't smell good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't feel good. And now we've got to call it. And so, you know, the collective consciousness the last 3 years since 2020, there's been a grand awakening of people going, wait. Something's wrong. Something's off. And I think the collective hit a place, a point, a tipping point where it just, you know, we've been saying so far, the veil is thin, the veil is thin. Well, there is no more veil anymore.
Yeah.
You know, depending on what you choose to see, If you choose to look away, everyone, you can choose to look away from the other stuff. And I have to say this, and this is where you and I, we would have these conversations since we've finally, because we were like, wait a second, this is becoming 1984. This is becoming the thing that we fear. Like there wasn't a safe place to go. I mean, I almost left this planet. I was overwhelmed with the dystopian world, and there wasn't a place on the planet that you feel like could be safe. And that was a fear that I had as a child growing up in the nuclear, craziness of, Russia, and we're gonna destroy the world with nuclear, and we still are. We're still on a tipping point. We could go that direction. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's sitting there. Some crazies. But I remember thinking there's no safe place to go, and so I remember I was coming from a place in my posting and all the things. I was like, please wake up, something else is happening here. No. Seeing a ball rolling down the hill, going, oh my God, it's happening.
I tried. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it was very challenging. That's what we came together to go, look, we just got to know our tribe. We got to come together. When Heather and I, and you and Brooke and Corinne and Michelle and Josh, and we came together that first time, and we came together because we're like, we just want to know who our tribe is when the stuff goes down. Where's our food? Where's our water? Where's your tribe? Just know who your people are, because you can't do it alone. And so, but we prayed together that first time. I'll never forget that. And we sat and we prayed. And I remember after we prayed, it was such a potent time of prayer. And you left after we were done. You're like, I think we just started something here. I think we got a little church going on here. And we started what was called Soul Community at the time, and SOL. And, but it wasn't to resist. It wasn't to fight. It wasn't to go get armed up. It was to really come into what we've come to term, and this goes back to the 11/11, sacred activism. There's social activism. We can get out there and be social activists, but there's something even more powerful in this time as we remember who we are. And sacred activism is going into connection with the Spirit of God. Like, we have to connect to the Spirit of God. God will fight our battles. God will let us fight our battles, but we'll only get so far. But with the power and the presence of God, like David did with Goliath, like we can do with small moves like this, like a podcast can be your 3 stones that you throw at the Goliath, with just your passion going, no, I know who I am. I know whose I am. And I am not going to allow anyone, anything, any entity to tell me otherwise, and there's an attack on God. There's an attack on family. There's an attack on the pure and right and true. And we're in the upside down world a lot of times. So, that resistance to it, though, that resistance isn't going to help. What you resist persists, as they say, right? What you keep giving that no. And the universal forces don't know no or yes. They just know energy. It just knows energy. It doesn't know what's good or bad. It's just what's energetic, what's got a charge. And that resistance is a charge. It's a big charge. Fear is a big charge. So we want to invert that in ourselves and go, what am I saying yes to? What am I saying yes to? What am I saying yes to? What am I receiving? What am I saying yes to? I'm saying yes to my God sovereign freedom. And that is when we say yes, miracles and magic happen. And we shift our energy. So I love at 111 into our podcast, I can see that we've 111 in, that we are
22, 111, 22.
We are in a place to, say yes, what is it we're saying yes to and see what happens.
Well, thank you for that.
I think that's what happened. That's what happened on 322 is you said yes to that moment. You said yes to something greater. And it was an honor to share that moment with you here in this home.
Well, yeah, thank you. And just, so people know what my experience was there, you had said something about just kind of created space in me honoring the question, And so whatever it was you said, the magic sauce, it just, for me, like a weight dropped off my heart. As you said, I closed my eyes, and it was just kind of an expansion and a body relaxation, and there was just space, and I just had this feeling of didn't need to chase my tail anymore, sort of thing. Like, just kind of, yeah, I think I'd been chasing, and it was just a letting go, and just, I think, yeah, I would connect it to trusting, right? Trusting in the divine plan. It was a big part of it. Like,
yes.
it's not all on my shoulders suddenly or my heart. It's like, okay. And also it was a confirmation that, in a way, there was just an overwhelming confirmation that 1,000% we're stepping into new mythology era, a whole new era of mythology. It cannot be understated. And I guess I just feel blessed to have a vision for what to do with this podcast and connected artworks. Let's just say that, wow, I don't even see a ceiling really. There's so much space. There's so much space to transform. Because we're, I think one thing that should be clarified for people, and one thing I was lacking for a while as I was resisting the matrix the last few years, right? Like, I didn't have the model of what I was saying yes to for most of the last 3 years. It was like, oh, fight the matrix. What am I saying yes to? And it's, I would say new earth is one way to put it. Just to kind of pair with the matrix. If it's not a matrix, then we're in a field that's a helix, or something that supports healing, right? So
I love that.
So that's a way to think about this. I think, maybe, hopefully for a lot of people as they wake up, and I don't know if this will be the path, I think there will be a lot of shock as exhibited in the Matrix film, right? I'm a human battery, whatever. Like, there's some shock naturally, but like, I want to just kind of encourage people that when you ultimately leave the fear matrix, or as I like to call it, the SAMO 3D matrix, right? Where, ultimately one evil corporation at the top of a pyramid has been mind controlling everybody and all the governments and all of society in a nutshell, right? As we clear that away, we can have real healing. We don't have constant programming going against our own divine natures and trying to sabotage, us through food, air, water, every direction, essentially. So there's a helix there, is what I'm trying to say. There is a incredible divine matrix that, so a lot of us have been seeing through numbers, frankly, and it's been guiding the way. So maybe this is a good time to kind of just honor the really kind of where we are today in terms of some numbers, right? You were really the first one to wish me a happy day out of time just 2 days ago, and it was July 25. Is officially honored as what's called the day out of time in the 1328 or the 1320 moon calendar, which is an alternative to the matrix calendar or the Gregorian calendar, if you will. So, a lot of people don't really have a lot of experience considering multiple calendars, right? The Gregorian 12-month calendar is just what we've been living on our whole lives. So for me, I've found the awareness of another calendar pretty inspiring, moving towards, natural harmonic frequency and consistency. So it just ended up being, I was really prepping to launch this podcast on the day out of time and decided to move forward with it on the first day of the new, lunar year, which was July 26th Gregorian. So just had to call that out as part of the truly divine synchronization that maybe you could plan, but I didn't exactly plan it that way. And I had spent some time the night before reading one of my other favorite little books, Manifesto for the New Sphere by Jose Arguelles.
Yeah.
And maybe I can link to some of the stories that he had in terms of certain discoveries that were made in just such incredible synchronicity. You can't just make it up down to the day, in terms of the math on both sides. And so, anyways, here we are.
What is the noosphere?
Noosphere. Great question. He describes. I'll try to describe it in a nutshell. This transition from being just a biosphere to and he goes into some degree of science about this. The noosphere is sort of the mental sheath around the Earth. Like, it kind of represents this mental intelligence field that ultimately I think will be, communicating in all kinds of
telepathically.
Telepathically. So, yeah, it's sort of this mental intelligence field that connects us, is one way to put it. So, and he describes this transition, and he calls out 9/11 as a significant event, triggering the end of the artificial time. And I've got no doubt about it that we're kind of living proof in a way, right? And there's so many others. So we here we are, 2023 Gregorian, and I'm going to do my part. In fact, I started. I think I shared a message to folks on the New Year's Eve this last year. I was just not feeling it at all. That's not my New Year anymore. My New Year is going to be in the spring, when we're rising, and maybe we'll just be syncing up more properly with the lawoftime.org folks who are carrying on, the torch of this work. So we'll see what comes of that, but I'll be doing my part to honor the 28-day frequency. For those out there who've never heard, 28 times 13 is 364. So you have, 1 day off of a perfect solar year. So the day out of time is to synchronize with that. So you've got your 13 moons every single year with 1 day at a time. And so for me, it just worked out perfectly to launch the podcast on the first day of the lunar year. So
perfect. It's perfect. And it's coming from your joy, it's coming from your inspiration. It's coming from your genius. It's coming from your 10,000 hours. And that's what's so cool. Heather and I often talk about, that we're two kids just playing in the Garden of Eden. We're just two kids. We're not trying to be clever. I've heard it said, sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment. What brings wonder? What brings joy? What brings creativity? What brings play? And having this conversation with you today is just play. It's just what we enjoy. Our prayer is that this conversation has touched something inside you. You may look at us, and I've said it before, those guys have lost their mind. Yeah, I've lost my mind, the mind that's connected to the matrix, and I've connected to my heart, the great central sun right here, where all intelligence is, where when I tap into that, because with this gathers knowledge and puts things in boxes and tries to figure things out. And I only see in part and know in part, just like you all. And, but it's an invitation for us to play, and God will do the rest. The one thing I can keep hearing is when I was in the hospital 10 days isolated, at a time where I was facing my own demise of this, wanting to get out of here, as I shared, and I had, and at a time where this, I won't go into all the nuances, but what I did, I was reading the Gene Keys, and Gene Key 5 came into my awareness. We were at that Gene Key 5, and it was just talking about, there comes times where things happen in our life where it seems like it's the worst, right? It just seems like, but it's something else is happening. And can you trust? And that's, I think we go back to March 22. Can you trust in all the chaos, right? Chaos and order, they go hand in hand. If the butterfly could freak out in the chrysalis, oh my God, I'm losing all these legs. I'm losing I'm losing everything I know. But you don't know what you're becoming. You don't know what's yet to come. But there's some divine plan. There's some divine impulse. There's some evolutionary oomph that is calling us forth, is taking away what no longer serves us. And we're going to be reacclimated like the butterfly hanging from the chrysalis when we pop out for a good few days. We're not going to know. We're just going to have to rest and trust that we're going to be a new creation. We're going to be a new earth. We are rethinking everything. We're rethinking how we do economy. How do we do education, how we do health, how we do community, how we do governance. And it's a time of recasting. I love how you said that. We're recasting. And so it's going to take time and space to do it, but we have to trust, and we've got to keep our eye focused and remember that there is something moving through us as us. And it's going to come through our heart. It's not going to come through our cleverness and our mind. It's going to come through our heart and connecting heart to heart with each other. Again, it's like the 11:11 when it came in my life, and it helped me remember that I knew when I was going to church at the time that I could feel as a child there was something off in the world, and I felt Jesus was the answer. And I do believe the way of Christ is the answer. I do believe that full-heartedly. That we need to remember that we are citizens of the kingdom of God. We are citizens of an amazing kingdom, and let's act like it. Let's walk like it. Let's talk like it, and not apologize and not settle for slavery. We are not slaves. We are not slaves, man. We are God's sovereign beings.
Amen to that. I think I made a post on Instagram and Twitter recently where I officially withdrew my consent from corrupt, belligerent governments. I don't know if you saw that one. And it was Tom Numbers who kind of got me on that. I saw it and I was like, yeah, I'm doing it too. And so we, changed my profile picture. And so that's my profile picture right now, Instagram and Twitter. I remove my consent from corrupt, belligerent, criminal governments. Mm-hmm. I will not comply. So, yeah, that's, just to touch on the slate, and that's been vibrant, you have to, the words are powerful. So, I said it on film and put it out there, and it's just kind of an interesting contrast, right? I think the moment we're in where it's, I can say that, and it's not really, I don't really think of it as resistance. I'm just kind of taking what's mine, my consent, and I'm going to be doing new things with it, right? We're recasting. And
you're reclaiming. You're reclaiming.
Yeah, we're reclaiming our sovereignty. Let's just spit that out. We're reclaiming from slavery to sovereignty. And we just have, I think with that word, even for myself, it's like, well, what's sovereignty? The situation has been dire. We just know slavery. I think maybe a lot of people are still coming into this understanding. Sovereignty is something, it's very aspirational, and we got to move towards it, right? And starts, I think, by withdrawing our consent to corrupt, criminal, belligerent governments and systems that, would seek to enslave us. And so with that being said, I think it's interesting that here, we have the kindlings of a 2024 election cycle already, right? And so, I don't mind saying on this, of course I believe, I know gnostically that the elections are stolen, and not just 2020, many before that, right? It's like, to me, deep in my bones.
It's been corrupt for a long time. Yeah.
A very long time. And just to thousands of years, let's just put it that way. Thousands of years. I don't know how many thousand. I've heard 8,000, whatever. Thousands of years in this kind of matrix container programming us. And so anyway, so I don't believe our votes have had the effect that we're looking to have in terms of electing our politicians. So it was interesting for me to to have one of the presidential candidates in my address book, right? And it's someone that you and I both have supported prior to this presidential run. We're talking about Robert F. Kennedy, and
yes,
he's been on fire, right? So just context for everybody. I reached out to him in 2020, just offering him some volunteer graphic design support because he had some stuff coming up on his Instagram that could use some improvement. So within 5 minutes, he took me up on it. Next thing I know, I'm talking to Robert Kennedy, did some illustrations for him that were on his Instagram, and then ended up doing a video. That was kind of the highlight for me of 2020, collaborating with Robert F. Kennedy to just to show Bill Gates as Big Brother of 1984. And it was unforgettable for me hearing Kennedy. When it came to the end, it was about maybe a week and a half process of iterations, and he was pretty involved. He'd given me the quote to put at the beginning. He'd given me some footage. Most of it I didn't need, of Bill Gates talking. And so we just did the one video of Bill Gates. He said it like 20 times or something in just a short clip. And anyhow, point being that was my highlight of 2020. So here we are. He's running for president in 2024 on the Democratic ticket. And at first I wasn't, and it's already kind of evolved for me from the first moment we kind of learned. It was like, oh, this is interesting. How much of a chance does he have? And I wasn't sure. I was very much not knowing. I would say since then, I've grown like loads of confidence that he's the right person to lead this country. So I know you feel similar. I want to let you speak to that, but I'll just say, like, for me, it's not just voting, right? So if we want to install a real leader in this country, we have to kind of rise to the occasion and figure out how to do this, knowing that our election systems are deeply corrupted. So there's a pretty open-ended question there. What do we do? But
well, first of all, for those that are listening, I don't know where you land with Robert Kennedy Jr., but I invite you to listen to him. And if you're just going on hearsay, if you're just going on, I read this article, I heard he's anti-vaxxer, he's crazy, he's one of the dangerous dozen, he's a whack job, even his own family doesn't, support him, which he always goes, anybody else in your family disagree with you? Like, it's crazy that they use that as a talking point. Like the holy Kennedys, not everybody in the Kennedy family agrees with you, and some do. Some don't, just like any of our own families. But, I am so excited that he's in the conversation, that he's in our awareness, that he is going boldly. I mean, he has been censored and censored and censored, and he's resilient. I mean, the guy is just like, he emanates leadership. He looks strong, virile. He loves his wife. I mean, he's yoked, he's a family man, and he's for the people. He is for the people. And here's what I know. Like, I've been a fan of him forever. And just, I wasn't around when JFK was shot, but I can feel in the Akash, I can feel in the collective that it wasn't just a sucker punch. It was like somebody took our guts right out of us. And Camelot fell. Mm-hmm. And a really nefarious part of humanity.
Can we just say that was 11/22?
11/22, yeah, 1963, right? I believe it was, in Texas. And, Kennedy came out, or RFK came out and said, look, it was a CIA I mean, we know. It's like, once you uncover and you start seeing the dismantling of the powers that were, you start seeing, you thought you had King of the Hill there for a second. You thought you had power, but the dismantling of it is happening. And I truly believe, and it's interesting. Yeah. 11/22, those are all 11s, right? And it's all by design. There's somehow a divine design happening here. And I truly believe that Bobby is part of God's plan. It's all part and parcel. And I think, and I'm watching many podcasts with Joe Rogan, Aubrey Marcus, Jordan Peterson. Those are like 3. Watch those interviews with Jordan Peterson, Aubrey Marcus, and Joe Rogan and Del Bigtree. Like, if you listen to these, I think it was Del Bigtree. I could be mistaken. But those 3, Del, Aubrey Marcus, Joe Rogan, and Jordan Peterson. Watch those interviews, find those, and listen to him. And you feel him. It's not about any agenda. You just feel, if you really quiet your mind, you'll feel this man's heart. And we as a people, whether we vote him in and at the ballots, I'm right there with you. I don't think that's the power, but the power is in the collective consciousness. If and when he becomes president, it's because we as a human race have achieved some level of consciousness that's allowed that to be so.
Precisely.
You know,
Precisely.
and so what can we do? Give him our attention. Listen to what he's saying. You know, really feel him, not just hear him, but just feel him. And it's okay if you disagree on abortion rights or you disagree on, you know, he's coming from a really bridge place. We've talked about this. He's the great unifier. And we as a country need unifying more than anything. And we need to, we've talked this, you know, you're part of the men's group that I lead on Tuesday nights. We talked about, we can't dehumanize another. We just really got to stop. And he's not anti anything. Like he'll say, like, I'm not going against anything. I'm for something. You know,
he's doing brilliantly. I've just loved watching him throughout this whole campaign. He is a great unifier. So I just want to echo that. That's exactly what I'm seeing. And, you know, and I've not been a Trump hater. I'm willing to say that. And I've just, you know, at times I've kind of felt supportive of Trump in the past. At other times, I just withdrawn to not know really what's going on in the show. But I think something, you know, when I look at those two, you know, Trump does appear to be more of a divider, where RFK, in contrast, is a uniter figure. And that's my, you know, I'm willing to change that perspective if anything updates in my world, but that's what I see. And I'm craving unity. And so, yeah, I absolutely do see Robert Kennedy as part of the divine plan now. And I want to make it clear, I say that as somebody who has heavy anarchist blood flowing through me. And I don't mean anarchy in the way that people have been, you know, programmed to think that it is. It simply means without evil rulers, to me, is what. And it does not mean chaos. You know, we're talking about this helix here, this divine synchronization through numbers. Ultimately, we can have a very organized society. In fact, it's almost inevitably going to be just 28 times better organized, at least, when we don't have you know, controllers on top of the pyramid inverting everything. So it'll just naturally self-organize better as those kind of evil spirits can no longer handle our vibrations. Ultimately, right?
Yeah. You know, and I want to spot this, because I think this is what I loved about him, and this goes for all of us. You know, Robert talks about his own weaknesses. He leads with his weakness. You know, he is a recovering alcoholic. He's been in AA. The 12-step program has saved his life, and he can't go without meditating. He can't go without doing his spiritual practice. And never before have we seen a candidate talk about that we need to go to a source. We need to go, and he calls it love. Like he calls, like, the greatest fear we have is fear itself. Like he talks about, like, we can't let fear guide our conversation. You know, I, for a season, couldn't even say Trump's name. I called him 45. I wouldn't even say his name. And then I came to a place going, you know what? He's the disruptor. He is the disruptor that is here for now. He's the Trump sounding in the book of Revelation. It is happening. It is time. He is part of God's plan. You know, he is that wrecking ball. Absolutely. And now that it's all wrecked and dismantled, now it's time to bring the pieces together in a way that's loving and supportive. And it's we, the people. But we have to look at ourselves. We can't look at out there and resist all the powers that be. We got to say yes to the powers within us. And the powers of love within us is alive and active if we give it attention and intention. And I think if we continue to do that individually and collectively, you know, in increasing measure, and that's what we put our focus on, we're going to watch Camelot restored. You know,
I feel the same way. And, you know, some people call it law of attraction, but I feel myself clicking into gear. Not really find myself not worried. Can't bother myself to be worried about the broken, you know, election system, right? Like, it's just knowing what we're going after and what we're going to do and seeing it. And, you know, I know you mentioned Aubrey Marcus. You know, he had a profound vision of Kennedy winning. It was very real, and you could like taste it, touch it, smell it, feel it, and it was big vision for him, and I've definitely been growing into that as well. And so yeah, on that note, I've already kind of told people that I'm unofficially working on a NFT campaign for Robert Kennedy, and I do mean unofficial. I believe that there's a tremendous opportunity to help fundraise for his campaign through cryptocurrency and Web3 tactics and strategies, let's say, and it's something that's never been done before. So, I'm holding space for this possibility to help install him in a powerful way. I don't have controls of the wheel, but I was trying to catch up with Robert's impressive bench press. So literally, I mean, I don't know if you ever,
Yeah,
he's on his Instagram pumping iron shirtless, and so I'm like, I can't let this 69-year-old be pumping more iron than me. So I was in the gym pumping iron on a bench press, and between sets, I just was struck with inspiration to text him and say, this is what I want to do for you. And I thought that we could raise, I just said, over $1 million for his campaign through an NFT campaign. And so he said he would connect me with, I won't name them, but someone on his team. So I haven't been connected with her just yet, but this recast really it's my own initiation to get going in a permissionless way, right? So I'm recasting the reality that I see in my vision, and we're gonna make it happen. So I don't think we'll dive all the way into the details of what I'm doing with 28x and crypto, but I guess I will just say officially, you're part of the team. We made that official prior to the call of this first. I'll be launching a series of artworks that kind of are going to be parallel to the topics that we're going to be discussing. They're called currents, so I'll be calling them recurrents, and that's the artwork that's somewhat, I should say, in the a recurrence on something that Robert Rauschenberg did in the 60s during the JFK era, that I feel is very much coming online again today. So in fact, I own a Robert Rauschenberg current piece. He was my favorite artist, and I'm blessed to hold a piece of his that I painted a JFK on, and it feels relevant again. So we're going to do some recurrents, and you are very much a part of the recurrent series 1, basically, the
Wow.
RE28X1, which will be a 28-piece set. So yeah, you're in the mix on the smart contract in the artwork. So just thanks for being a partner on the team. It's nice to have a team form.
Yeah. I'm so grateful, and it's like we're stepping in, like we talk about, and I hear you and my son-in-law Taylor talk a lot about Web3. Like we're ushering in a new world. We're ushering in a new way. And if you're not familiar with Web3 and how you engage, I mean, AI is here. How we engage in this new virtual digital world, embrace it, learn to navigate through it because it's here, and stay in your sovereignty, stay in your discernment. But, let love guide you, let light guide you. And I know that this love and light, and I truly mean that, not in the cheesy, new agey way, but love and light guided this conversation, guided this contract, guided this way of engaging in today. And that surrender, like I heard Joe Dispenza say something, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I want to presence it here. He said that the best way to predict your future is to create it, not from the known, but from the unknown. And when you and I get comfortable in the place of the unknown, that's where the magic happens. And it never happens in the known. And I love that. We talked about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, like being comfortable in the unknown, not needing to know it all. Like, I don't know how all NFTs work. I don't know how the smart contracts, but what I do know, and this is what we were talking about in 322, love called us forth, and love never fails. And love always provides, love always protects. And that we can know. So when that yes, that full-bodied yes, that like, it's a yes. It's a yes to this conversation. It's a yes to this contract. It's a yes. I created a MetaMask wallet for the first time today, everybody. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh, that was easy. That was easy. And now I can receive because I said yes to something I didn't know. I didn't know I could do it. You don't know what you don't know yet. And so just keep saying yes to what's in front of you and watch what happens. And I'm excited about this journey for you. I believe in you, Matthew. I believe in your intentionality. And I just hold this container with you in my knowing that as you are lit by your excitement, by your enthusiasm, by your inspiration, it cannot fail. It will do what it's going to do. And it will touch, it will bring, it will attract. And, may this recast, touch many and inspire many, and get the NFTs, get them, buy them, have it. And tune into what Matthew's doing with, what we're speaking into creation. Magicians know how to speak and spell their life. And by the power of our word, it is done.
Amen to that. I appreciate that, Jason. I don't mind stating now. So the date we'll be targeting for this NFT drop for this first, recurrence is August 22. Turns out. So that's I wanted to honor the close of the first moon on the moon calendar. So we're gonna have 28 pieces of art for this first series. We'll see how we conduct it, but it'll probably be revealed or dropped on that day. So I'll just share that. So get your Ethereum ready, everybody. We're gonna Ethereum blockchain on one of the best, most distinguished platforms. We're just going big because I'm creating stuff that I truly believe in. I don't mind saying I had one of the most creatively fulfilling days yesterday that I've ever had. In my AM session in preparation for this, and it's just really a kind of day that I want to repeat in a lot of ways. So I'll be scheduling the time to recast. We'll be doing a future episode, I imagine. We'll have to circle back to more about the gene keys. I know you mentioned it in the show. There's a whole other powerful numerical set there to explore. We'll do on another time. But, this feels like a pretty good time to ask you, how can people learn more about what you do if they want to say yes to more Jason Michael Powers and what you have to offer?
Yeah, thank you, man. You can find me, Jason Michael Powers, on the socials, on Facebook and Instagram. But more importantly, I encourage you to go to thepowersoflove.com. That is my passion in this world now, is to really, work in relationship. So Heather Grace Powers, my beautiful beloved singer-songwriter, just the grace manifest in herself. She and I are relationship guides, relationship coaches, but I work with men individually, for those, an awakening guide of sorts, when you're having the breakdown and you're wondering what in the world's going on, you're getting unplugged, reach out and, I can help guide you and coach you through the dismantling and the awakening that's happening for you. And in kind of like not a death doula, but a birth doula. You're having a rebirth. And so you have somebody there to kind of assist you. So any of those portals, the Powers of Love, you can find us on Facebook. And, we're excited about what we're doing. We're here at a time to help relationships be restored, to reconnect, to resource themselves with the source of love itself. And the powers of love, that's, when Jimi Hendrix said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, we'll have peace on earth. And that is my piece of peace on earth, is to help relationships awaken the power of love within themselves and their relationship, because that's the smallest form of governance. How we do relationship is how we do everything. And please reach out. We got some great, a breakthrough session that can happen. And if you mention this podcast, you mention this recast, you'll get a good discount on it, and just schedule a call and we'll let you know what that is.
Wow. Well, thank you, Jason. Go check out Powers of Love, everybody. You know what? I think we'll do closing out. We did prep. I've got a video of Heather, your wife, Heather. Tell me the name of the song again.
Oh, thank you, man. It's called Remember, and it's in parentheses star.
Remember.
And
So
the star is stands for, in the song you'll hear her say, surrender, trust, allow, and remember. Surrender, trust, allow, and remember. And so what we're remembering is we're star-born. We are star kindred. We come from star stuff, and that's what I was born through the Sirius gateway, and the great galactic New Year is very connected to Sirius. It's connected to the star. So the star beings, the star nation, the star beings that we are, remember that we are star beings. We are mighty, powerful beings, more than we can imagine. So that song, I think, will just open your heart and hear her, because you'll be served by that. I trust that.
Amen to that. So I will play the song. So that we'll wrap it up here. And for anyone wanting to find more of the recast, we'll be at mjl.re. Just secured that domain today. So mjl.re is how you can find more of the recast. And without further ado, let's tune into Heather's song, Remember. So I'm going to boot that up. Oh, sorry. First I got a screen share. Share. Screen. And boom. Are you seeing what I got going here, Jason?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a deep breath together. So here we are together in this one co-created experience, and with all the things going on outside in the world that would tempt us to be confused and downtrodden and depressed, I invite us in this moment to come to the temple. Come to the temple in yourself, and let's reside uniquely in our own expression, but together in the one heart, knowing that love wants to have its way with us here today in so many ways. Come to the temple, bathe in the presence of love. Let go of the warrior, lay down your sword. You had enough. For I know you're weary, the battle has taken its toll. Illusion is shattered, the veil is rent. You're whole. So come to the fire and lay down the shame of the past. Blaze purifying, revealing your golden lamps. For you hold the keys now, locking your shackles and chains. No longer a prisoner, you are now free and reclaimed. You're reclaimed. Surrender to my love. Trust that you're enough. Allow yourself to breathe and remember, oh, remember, Come to the mystery and give up the stories you've known. The path now collapsing, leading us all back to one. No longer divided, the fractals united in peace. And it's time to play now like children of love's destiny. Surrender to my love. Trust in your healer. Allow yourself to breathe and remember, remember, oh, remember, remember who you are, who you are. You are the light of the world. You are the joy of the earth. You are the love of your life. So remember, so remember, so remember, 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 oh, remember, remember, remember. You sing it with me? Oh, remember, 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 remember. You are the light, so remember, oh, remember, remember, oh, remember, who you are, who you are, who you are. So remember. Magnificent Heather Powers.
That is the power of love right there.
She was accompanied, yes, give her some love and appreciation, Heather Powers. She was accompanied by the...
Thank you for playing that. I mean, that sums up everything we've been talking about, as she does so beautifully with music. And it just brings tears to my eyes because, you know, we're in a big, giant game of peekaboo. Do you remember who you are in this sea of samsara, as it's been called in the Hindu faith? And can we remember who we are in this time of transition? And when we remember who we are collectively, not only will we have a man like RFK as our president, but America will be restored. In America, what happens here is important. What happens here in this country for the rest of the planet. There's a divine vision that's been given to us. to be God's sovereign free beings. And when we remember that we are that, so much good is coming. So thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Namaste.
Love you, man.
For joining, and love you too. We'll look forward to having you back on the recast.
Let's have Heather and I back. We'll talk about reunion.
Bingo. Love it. Thanks so much, Jason. We'll catch you next time, buddy.
All right, man.